Hello, Courtney. Welcome. I'm just waiting for everybody to come in and check, and I'll get started in a minute. I'm doing fine. How are you? Get started in a minute. My guest is supposed to be here. I don't know where he's at. He said that he'll do it today. I don't know, but I'll give him a moment to come into the chat. So when I now that I am waiting on the guest, I'm gonna give him 5 minutes to get here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Today's topic is how do you face racism? Well, there's a lot of protests going on with the death of George Floyd. A lot of people are outraged that racism is still going on in this country. And it's not just here in the United States, it's all over the world. Like people are getting sick and tired of the racism. It's getting old. We've been fighting racism ever since America became America. We went through the Civil War, we went through Jim Crow, we went through the Civil Rights era, and I don't even know what to call this era because we're in the year 2020 and we're still going through the racism. So right now, from what I am hearing, that we just had a memorial service for George Floyd, but there's also white nationalists that's coming out too, and they want to shoot protesters that's coming that is protesting. And this just to show you that this racism, I'm just going to say this. People think that racism does not exist in this country and believe that it's all in people's head and that people perpetuate it too much. But as you can see, racism is still alive and well. And people need to wake up. This is not a joke. There's so many people looting and rioting, and the police are also, breaking into people's businesses as well. And it just, also sickened me too with the looters, because they're not there for George Floyd. They in it for themselves. They're sitting there, they stealing clothes, shoes, whatever they can get their hands on, whatever sandwiches they break in, they're gonna get it. It is just a sad thing, because people need jobs. People need jobs so they can support their families. I just don't understand how people can just sit up there and destroy people's livelihood. They're destroying their own livelihood as well. And it has been a very, very big problem in this country. And Black folks are not only getting experience racism, the Chinese are experiencing racism. Mexicans and other Spanish nationalities are facing racism. Anybody that is non-Black experience racism, and for the exception, of white people. But Black people experience racism the most, and it has been a big problem. You would think that since Martin Luther King died, people will be holding hands, singing "Kumbaya." That is not the case at all. People are There are people out there that are still racist, because racism is a generational thing. People are being taught to be racist because their parents and their parents before them and their ancestors were racist. And in this generation, the only way we can stop racism, we have to confront it head on. We need to let people know that it is not okay to put down people because they're different from you. It is not okay to discriminate somebody because of their belief and their religion and their tradition. Everybody is different. Everybody was not put on this earth to know the same thing. And this is what makes us beautiful as a people, because we can experience and learn from each other. Now, I'm not saying that, everybody's gonna, be rainbows and everybody's gonna get along. No. There are still, bad people out there, and that's in every race. But you discriminate and base people on race is not okay. This has been an ongoing problem, and it needs to stop. And I guess, with the rioting, people are now starting to understand that, this is getting out of control. And that people are now standing up and saying that this is wrong. This is wrong, that people has to be, discriminated against because of the color of their skin, because they are different, because, they talk a certain way. Just to give you guys, take you back in the past. And I'm just gonna say this for Black people. Racism became worse when slavery was over. Slavery, when Black people called freemen, were free, to vote, have a decent education, and they got 3 acres in a mule, white slave owners were very frustrated and angry because the free men were getting equal treatment just as a white man will get equal treatment, and they wasn't going to have that. So for order for them to stop Black people from gaining rights is to dress up in garments and terrorize people. So what they did was they started hanging Blacks. They set us on fire. Not only that, they took away our voting rights, they took away our rights, period, and they segregated us. We lost our land, and we and our communities and our education was very poor. And that's been going on until this day. Our education is still poor because they don't want Black people to learn who they are or to get a decent education, to get a job. They want to keep us in poverty. But don't get me wrong, I'm not a pro-Black. I'm really not going on a pro-Black side of the fence, but I have to speak the truth because it's true. It is true that Black people do get the end of the stick when it comes to our freedom. And our rights are violated as citizens. There he is. There's our guest.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can hear you.
How'd your finals turn out?
I got a B in both of my history. I got a B in history 11 and 12.
That's good. Congratulations. Are you happy?
No, I wanted to get an A. I wanted an A. My goal was to get an A. Everybody, this is Josh Hopkins. We've been knowing each other for quite a long now. We've been knowing each other for like 4 months. Has it been 4 months?
Um, yeah, since the beginning of the semester, I believe.
Yeah. And he been tutoring me ever since, and his method really did help me pass this class because I had like a lot of load on my back. But if it wasn't for this man, I don't know how I would get through this semester.
Well, you put the work in. You did a
So
good job.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm still waiting on my see. Yeah. So Josh, I know there's a lot of things going on, and you live around the San Fernando area. Were you close to the riots?
Yeah, they were down the street from my house. They were. Um, I
Were
didn't
you
go down there,
able
but
to see it, or
no, I didn't. I didn't mess around down there. I didn't go out there. All the looting and stuff.
that's? But I know that you heard it.
Yeah, the police were everywhere. They like all up and down
I
Hazeltine.
and you don't live and you don't live far from the police station, right?
Van Nuys Courthouse. Yeah, I don't live too far from there. I live
Omega Courtney,
like half a mile.
Josh.
Yeah.
Omega Courtney said thank you. Said you're awesome.
Who's that? Omega Courtney.
Omega Courtney, she says you're awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, what are your thoughts on George Foreman
George Floyd?
and his death? And George Foreman and the
Yeah.
riots. Let's talk about the riots too.
Um,
So the riots, I know, they've been, I know it's been like a lot of chaos,
mhm.
at this time, but I want to, hear your side of the story. What
Well,
has happened? What do you think people should have done? You think people? Do you think the protests would have been planned better if people would have stayed calm?
well, I feel like there are two different forces working right now. You do have the Black Lives Matter movement that seem to take a more of a pragmatic approach, more peaceful protest, and then you have leftist infiltrators who have incited the violence and the looting. So there's two things going on right now. You have one, people trying to uh, bring forth change by means of our Constitution, our First Amendment right of protesting, and then which I feel was effective, and it was good to see different races out there, which I also found offensive too. But I'll talk about that later. Um, but as far as the looters and the rioters who have infiltrated the protests, that's a whole nother agenda right now that's going on, and it's really politically driven. So overall, I'm very uh, I'm very unhappy with all of it and how it's turned out. But I think though, if they can quell the uh, the violence and the agitators, then the protests will be a lot more effective. Um, and just speaking on George Floyd,
You think that? No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
just speaking on George Floyd, I saw the video and everything. I It was very disturbing, um, and I'm glad. I mean, it's terrible that it happened, but I'm glad that it was caught on video, and this irresponsible and malicious police officer who's had 18 prior complaints against him that was still allowed to work in the police department, and his partners have been arrested and charged because the police, their job is to enforce the law and to protect and to serve, and it's not to assault people and to take people's lives and to be irrational. And that was very disgusting, very disgusting.
Yeah, it was. I agree with that. But with the, seeing the video, George Foreman was pleading. Sorry, I keep saying Foreman. It's Floyd. George Floyd was pleading for his life when the officer had his knee on his neck, and the officers just stand there, letting that officer choke the death out of him, and people were on the sidelines telling him that he can't breathe. He needs to breathe, and the officer, just ignore people.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
they didn't hold each other accountable, like which is why they were charged with
mhm.
accessories.
But what do you think? What do you think the officer couldn't have done better to avoid putting his knee on his neck? What do you think he should have done?
I don't. I think they should have put Floyd in the back of the car and been done with it. Um, I didn't see any video where it showed he was resisting. The autopsy did come back that he was high on methamphetamines, which can make you superhuman, give you superhuman strength, if you're agitated. But I didn't see
Hmm.
any reason for them. I mean, he was handcuffed. He was already restrained. So for them to further restrain him by throwing him on his stomach with his hands handcuffed behind his back, and then putting a knee on his neck, which probably cut off the oxygen to his brain, and he asphyxiated. It was malicious to say the least. So I don't think. I think what could have been done differently is that police officer should have been fired a long time ago, because he's. I mean, he was clearly reckless and malicious. Um, so when I saw it, I didn't feel though that George Floyd was being killed because he was black, though. That's not what popped out in my head. What popped out of my head was that you had a civilian on the ground slowly being executed by a peace officer. And that just it's just a horrible thing to watch, you know. And I mean, for George Floyd too, you know, it's bad. It's bad.
Do
Uh,
you? I because this is the thing. Because we also heard of the death of Ahmaud Arbery back in February, then Breonna Taylor back in March, and now George Floyd. Don't you think that was a pattern for that black folks are getting killed? Because there's other races that being killed too, but they really put black people in the forefront. Because in my mind, I believe they're trying to start a race war, which has backfired, in my opinion.
well,
And
yeah. I um I I don't
and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
See, be all right, this is my experience, okay? And I was around during the LA riots too. I was 13 years old when those kicked off. I was a young teenager getting ready to go into adolescence, and I had a lot of bad influences around me at that time. um what I see, I don't really, my I'm not concerned with police brutality. I used to get in a lot of trouble, and it wasn't because I was a stand-up citizen. It was because I was doing shit I was supposed to do. And but now what I see though, I don't see police brutality as being the problem in Black America. I see black on black crime being a problem in Black America. And for us to point out people being killed by the police, it's an infinitesimal in comparison to black deaths caused by other black people. And I don't think anything is going to change in our community until we can admit that and address that as the main problem. Until then, with
Mm-hmm.
all these people marching Black Lives Matter is bullshit because they don't matter. Not when we can arbitrarily kill each other in Chicago or out here in LA and nobody cares about it. As long as it's another black person doing it, it doesn't matter. And to me, that hurts. And it's really showing that
Mm-hmm.
we're misguided in what we need to be focusing on as a community or as a subculture in a country. Um, and until we do it, we're just gonna keep on repeating the same thing over and over again. So I'm not really happy about all this shit that's going on because it's really gonna deflect the attention where it needs to go, and that's dealing with black on black crime.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention,
Yeah.
not to get into women's reproductive rights, I don't want to get into that conversation, but another thing that is plaguing Black America is our abortion rate. Since 1973, 19 million black babies have been aborted, and we represent
I did not know that.
13% of the population. And being that our population currently is about 39 million, that's about 42% of our population have been killed in the womb. Nobody's talking about that either. And we got Planned Parenthoods in 55% of black communities. And the most babies that are being aborted are black babies. So when I see these people marching in the street talking about Black Lives Matter because George Floyd was killed, that is deflecting the attention to a cigarette burn on your body when you really got a self-inflicted gunshot wound in your chest. So it's like paramedics working on the cigarette burn that's on your arm, and they need to be fixing the gunshot wound in your chest. And you know, so I just look at it as a reason. People are using this as a reason. You have the protesters marching, but I don't understand why Black Lives Matter is not addressing this issue as well. I don't understand, why all these people, if they so-called care about Black lives, why we're not talking about these issues. We just hide them and we pretend they don't exist, or people say, "Oh, I don't want to hear that." So I have mixed emotions about it.
My thing is the reason why, black women in particular get abortions because they didn't want the baby. They didn't want to, either they got pregnant when they were teens or when they're in their early adulthood and they didn't really want to have kids. But here's what, I think about this. I think that black women should be more responsible on who they want to have children with or have unprotected sex with, because this is no joke.
Well, it's one bad decision
Our
leading to another.
womb, our womb is sacred, and it was only meant for a particular guy that is special to us. We should not be having sex with guys and then we get pregnant and we say, oops, this wasn't my intention. It really wasn't, but you have to, think first, because when you're having sex with a guy that you don't know or really don't even care about, you shouldn't even be having unprotected sex with this guy, because abortion, when you get an abortion, you're actually depopulating black men. And that's becoming a problem because you're not only aborting black boys, you're aborting black girls as well, and they couldn't have become something great.
Hmm. That's right.
So we really have to be mindful who we choose to have children with.
That's right. I mean,
But I just want to ask this, you know, because people, some people don't know how to deal with racism,
hmm
and as you can see, with the riots, people were out of control. Like, I don't know if you saw, my live stream where I, did a live and showed the footage of what's going on in Long Beach and Santa Monica the other day. I
I'm not
just, want to
that.
know how, yeah. But I'm pretty sure you caught it on TV, on your TV, right?
That's right.
Um, I just wanted to ask you, how should people deal with racism? How should they deal with hate?
Um, First of all, the way I feel about race is I believe that any individual that has the propensity to regulate themselves to a racial identity is undoubtedly participating in prejudices that really mocks their potential and thereby rendering it with insufficient
Hmm.
capacity. Humans are complex systems comprised of unparalleled, unrivaled, unequaled, and incomparable biological technologies that can never be replicated with any human innovations. Yet the anatomical phenom we exist as is reduced to a race. That is dumb. Our identity should be diverse and adaptable to any and everyone on the planet because it serves our potential and does not render our journeys to be inefficient and frivolous. So when you are reducing yourself to a race, you are reducing yourself to a societal standard, something that everyone collectively agrees that you should be categorized as. And when you do that with race, then you adopt the different aspects and characteristics of the race and apply them to your own identity. But the problem with that is that your identity is designed to be adaptable just like human survivability. Humans can go and live anywhere on the planet and adapt to any environment. We're resilient. Yet that is physical, but somehow we have a block to doing it mentally when the mental aspect of it is what really assures your ability to survive. And nobody can change your skin color. But saying that I have to identify as a race means you are reducing everything that you are to the color of your skin. So when I think about dealing with racism or somebody being racist towards me, which I'm sure happens more than I'm aware of because I give it very little power. Um, I think of I don't find myself being able to take offense, but I feel more pity for the ignorance of the individual, and I feel that people should give race less power, and I also feel that people should be less attached to their racial identity because it really doesn't serve you. Like I said, if you're black, you're black. You don't need to act black. If you're white, you're white. You don't need to act so-called white. You're white. You're black. That's all there is to it. You could be or act whoever or however you want. It's never going to change the color of your skin. So I feel that we should give importance to it accordingly. And when I see all this racial shit going on now, like, I told you about my father. He was born in 1945 in the Jim Crow South in New Orleans, Louisiana. He had had many run-ins with the Jim Crow era, and I even wrote about it recently in the paper in the African American literature that I'm taking. Whereas, you know, he suffered from great abuse, not only from his family. My big mama, his grandma, my great grandma, shot him in the leg with a 22 when he was 11 years old for back talking. That's when you got hit with frying pans and all kinds of stuff. So it was really rough back then, and some people might even experience that to this day. Abuse is ongoing, but back during that era, there was no resolve to abuse. It just is something that continued to go on and on. But anyway, as far as his racial run-ins, one time he was fraternizing with a woman he should not have been fraternizing with, whether she found him attractive or was flirting with him, whatever. But he had an Emmett Till situation almost, where he was chased uh, into the swamps, and he was chased by the sheriffs and other people for 2 days. And that was in 1964, and that's when he left Louisiana for good. So, and I also told you about the time when I really got to witness the effects of Jim Crow when I was 10 years old, and I went to go see the movie Mississippi Burning that came out in 1988. And I went to the theater to see it with my father, and there was a scene in there where the Ku Klux Klan was lynching town folks. And my father had a severe emotional reaction, enough to where he got up and started screaming and pulled me by my arm to leave with him the movie theater. And he was yelling at the ushers. and demanded to see the manager. And he was screaming at, "Why could you show this? How could you show this?" And then we left the theater, and then my father was crying, um, which is something that's a rare thing for a boy to see, because
I believe
he was a prideful man. But
I believe in this. Yeah. But here's the thing. What I see, as long as I've been alive for 3 years, I've been seeing a lot of things going on with black people. Yes, there is black on black crime, which should be talked about in our community. However, we should not dismiss the police brutality because right now I've been seeing more police brutality than black on black crime, to be honest with you.
that's impossible.
And for what I'm seeing, but
How
what
could you see
I
that?
am seeing,
Is that what you're
what
choosing to
I
see? Because
am,
you haven't seen that actually, because
it's
statistically.
not what I'm choosing to see. This is what I'm seeing.
So you're saying that you
Because
don't,
trust me,
you don't.
I've been back and forth in the hood. I've been back and forth in the hood, and I don't see black people shooting each other like that. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm saying that, from what I'm seeing, black people are not really killing each other like that. Not like it was back then when I was in back in the 90s. But I really think what this country is trying to do, they're trying to revert back into the Jim Crow era by because want blacks they want black people to to stay in poverty. They want black people to stay in fear. And right now, I see it, their plan has backfired because a lot of people see what was going on, and a lot of Americans are waking up, seeing the bullshit that the media is trying to do. They are trying to cause a race war.
Mhm.
So, in order for this country, to stop racism in their track, people have to work together. People have to come together and let our leaders know that you guys have to do something about this. This is going too far. You got the Klan out here. They're not being marked as terrorists, which they recently did. I don't know why they didn't do it a long time ago. You got the white nationalists running amok. Why aren't these people getting arrested for murdering black people and other races? Because when it's a black on black crime, black people will get arrested if they kill another black person. But when it's like a white nationalist that kills another race, they don't get them in jail and there's no trial. And in this country, and this needs to stop because whoever kills people, they need to face the consequences. This country should not let people go free for murdering people. They need to treat people the same way they treat others when they murder somebody else. They and this country needs to change how they view race. Racism should not be here. We should not be having this discussion right now. But it wasn't if it wasn't for the media just betraying black people as being victim of police brutality and they show everybody getting shot, would not be talking about race right now, but it is what it is. With George Foreman, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery, something needs to change. We've been going through for decades through the civil rights movement. Something needs to change and it needs to be fast before it's too late. Something needs to happen.
May I ask you a question? Um,
Go ahead.
do you feel that it's okay for black people to kill white people?
No,
Did you know that more white people are killed by black people in this country than the other way around? And that's according to the FBI crime statistics.
no,
Another thing too,
no.
you keep on you
But
said
if you're gonna talk about that, Josh, we need to present evidence
I yes I said the FBI
because
crime
that's
statistics.
yeah,
FBI
but
crime.
that needs to be proven
All right, I'll pull it up for
because
you real
we
quick.
already know black people. Yeah, we already know black people, kill each other. That could anybody in community can kill each other. They just don't talk about it. They want to focus so much on black people and how we kill each other when there's white people and Spanish people killing each other all the time. So just say black on black crime is just an scapegoat, in my opinion, because when you live in a community and the majority is like white people, of course they're gonna kill each other because the majority of the people are white. Just like in the black community, majority of blacks are are in their community, they're the majority. So we just can't, look at black people and say we kill each other when there's other races in their community, they're killing each other as well. So if we're gonna talk about one race killing each other, we need to talk about the other race as
Well,
well.
that's exactly why I brought that up. You keep on saying they want us and they. Who are you referring to when you say they? You
I'm
said
speaking to the white
so
so-called
you.
white supremacy.
Oh, okay, white supremacists.
Hmm.
Have you
I don't
encountered?
speak there because it disgusted me.
Have you ever encountered white supremacists, like members of the KKK or anything? You have?
Well, I have white nationalists call me the N word.
Yeah, I've been called a nigger too before,
I
plenty of times. But like, what is your?
Yeah,
Do you
but
know?
these were white.
So, do you feel that all white people feel this way, or just white supremacists?
I believe that people that has a white supremacist mindset feel that way.
And what do you feel like if
I feel.
can I
Go
put
ahead.
a link in the chat for you guys to look at so you can start researching?
You
I
can
have
send it to my email and I'll put it on the share screen.
I don't think I feel a lot. I hear a lot of people talking about systemic racism and whatnot. Um, and that is something that I think is I think is more imaginary than anything. If you get caught up on the wrong side of the law, you know, you're caught slipping. That's just you. And whatever happens to you happens to you. But I feel that if you work hard in this country, you do your best, you educate yourself, you take care of your family, you will get ahead in this country. And this is the best place in the world for any black person to get ahead in this world. It's just the United States of America. And if you don't believe me, you need to check the 45 million immigrants that are waiting in line to become citizens of this country. And also, one of the most successful.
But Josh,
Can I finish,
we
please?
we're not denying that black people will become successful.
So
in this
what's the
country.
problem?
But however, that does not stop people from being racist.
So
People are gonna
racism,
be racist regardless if you become successful or not. They can care less if you have a family.
you
They can
cannot
care
end
less about you having
you cannot end racism. That's a
that
very
people like.
unrealistic. It's a very unrealistic goal.
We're not saying. Here's the thing. No, we cannot stop racism, but we can stop it at its tracks. We can stop it from manifesting. We don't want no more people being killed by the cops. And right now, I believe police brutality in itself is getting out of hand because the police are thinking that they can go and terrorize the citizens without any consequences. I think it's more of a police brutality than a race issue. I'm not trying to offend nobody, but we need to focus on the police and how they are operating because nobody should be killed in the hands of the police. The
I agree
police
with you.
are here to protect and serve the community. They're not here to harm people. That's not what the police was created to do. I think it's because I'm not saying all policemen, but I'm talking about the certain individuals in the police force have a messed up mind. They believe because they're wearing a badge, they can take away a life without any consequences. And it's simply not true.
So once you take care of the
If we had laws, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so once you take care of the police problem, what's your next step? So what are you going to do about the inner city crime? What are you going to do about the economic
That's
devastation?
something
So none of your problem. Let's
that's
just say
something
that the
that the
police.
people have to hold on a second. I'm trying to answer your question. That's something that the people have to come around and do. Black people in particular, and I'm speaking on Black people because, we have the worst community in the country. We have to have, and put our resources together to create jobs in our community. That's something that has to happen. But if you don't have people in your own community cooperating and they have a whole other mindset that is negative, then nothing's going to get done. It's going to take, it, yes, we can start now in the process of getting jobs in our community, but it's going to take a while for the Black people to catch up with the Asians because we've been held back for so long. If Jim Crow didn't come along, if the Ku Klux Klan existed, we will be one of the wealthiest people in this nation. And I'm telling you the truth. But because that we've been, dealing with white supremacy and racism, it's going black people have not black people have been in a poor situation ever since. But that doesn't mean that we can get out of it.
I just you keep on
We
saying
can. It's just that,
you keep saying we like I mean people are individuals. Like I'm not going to base my success on
and
what Black
that's what I'm
America says.
saying.
And what? Let me ask you
It
this
takes a
question:
community.
What's been
It takes a community to be for us to to build our community from shambles and put jobs in our community so we can have the money circulate in our communities. But like you said, people have individual mindset. But if you have people that's the same goal as you and they want their community to thrive,
Do you
we're
live
going
in
to
a black
make it
community?
happen.
Do you live in a black community?
Huh?
Do you live in a black community?
I live in a, I used to live in a black community. Now it's just, Hispanics.
So you don't live in a black community, but you feel that you're still saying we as a black community, but you don't even live in a black community.
Correct.
So what I'm
The
saying,
problem with
as
that.
an individual, what is it going to take for you to succeed? Do you think that white supremacy is going to stop you from achieving your goals and living a happy life here in America? If you work hard and you don't break the law, do you think that white
White
supremacy is going to stop you from being
supremacy,
successful in this country?
white supremacy is just a stumbling block. They will try to block you from succeeding
So can
because
I
you
ask
got to
you some of your
understand.
experiences? Are
Hold
you
on a
speaking?
second. Hold on a second. You got to let me talk. You got to let me talk
You've been talking the whole thing. I'm kind of getting a
because you
little.
got to understand.
What's that?
Because whites are the majority of the world, and you have certain white people that's going to be racist that do have high in a position of power of who to hire and who not, to work for them. You do have people in that position. I'm not saying that is every job. I'm just saying it's most of it.
How do you know?
And because I have experienced it.
So you've applied for jobs
But
you're qualified for, but you've not been hired because you're black. Is that what you're telling me?
it could be the possibility.
But wait, I'm
It could
asking
be a
you, did that factually
people
happen?
don't have to people you have to understand. People are not going to be bluntly racist in your face.
Who are people? You're being too
They could
general.
just smile in your face, act like they could smile in your face and act kind to you, but they don't have to hire you.
So
And
what is your
you
experience?
could, be the best. You could be the best candidate that is out there, but if they just judged you, your skin tone, they're not going to hire you
So what is your experience
just
though?
because you're different from me. Huh?
What is your personal experience? I want to hear. I don't want to hear they. I want to hear your personal experience. Can you give me a time that you tried to apply for a job, you were qualified for the job, and you were not hired because you were black?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give
And this
me
is what I'm saying to you, Josh.
Can you
People
give me
are
an
not
example?
going to be bluntly. What do you mean by an example?
I'm asking you to be factual, to give me an account of something that you've experienced, because you have all these preconceived notions as to what they do and what they think. So either there's two reasons why you say that. One is because you've experienced it, which means that you can give me an account of your
Mm-hmm.
experience, or two, it's because this is what you believe based on how you've been influenced. So I'm trying to separate the two to understand exactly why you have your perspective. So do you have an
I'm
example?
trying to. Hold on, Josh. This is what I'm telling you, Josh. People are not going to be bluntly racist in your face because if that happens, they can lose their job because they're not supposed to discriminate on race, religion, or whatever. This is how they do it. Yes, they will give you an interview because they don't know you behind the scenes. But they could also look at your application and they see that you are black. They they could decide to give you an interview
Do you have any proof?
and they'll just pass you along just because here I can show you because there was a black lady that says that she when she presented herself as a black woman, she posted her resume out there. She said that she got little to no response, but when she put herself as a white woman named Bianca, she posted the same resume as as if herself, and she got a lot of feedback from the employers. So I'm going to show you real quick. Just give me one second.
Wait, but Rhonda,
You
I
can
asked you
read it.
what your experience was. I don't. I mean, what's your experience?
Well, I did apply for jobs, and I did put down my qualifications through, like for a certain job,
Hmm.
and I in my resume of my work, and I have not gotten any callback. I even called the place myself. They didn't call me back. So, and they didn't give me any any reason why, I was not qualified for that job.
So you assume it's
But
because you're black.
I said it could be assumed that I was, yes. But
I mean, I think that's more of a disease of the mind than it is of actual experience. You've clearly been influenced to think a certain way, and it's not based on your own experience. And that's just no way to go through life. Opinions based on what other people are telling you to think and to feel, or how they're influencing you. I'm asking you, what is your racial history based on your own experience? And is it warranted for you to believe that there is a mass conspiracy to keep black people down? And if you do believe that, then why are you even trying to get a degree? Why are you even trying to get ahead in life if anybody's just going to hold you down? And I have the answer to that question actually. It's because I actually believe you can be successful and that racism isn't going to really stop you. So it's almost like thinking in circles. You want to believe people are this way, but on the other hand, your actions are showing something totally different. Your actions are proving that there is no mass conspiracy to hold black people down. Yeah, there are going to be racists out there. So what? If we didn't have society, we would be out in nature. And if we're out in nature, then we're killing each other anyway. So you're not going to change human nature. But what you can change is what you allow to stop you from getting ahead in life. And if you want to make up these excuses or to make other people's problems your problems and let those be a reason that you do not seek success, then that is going to be your own demise. But what I am telling you, that in this country, if you want to get ahead and you put the work in and you put aside the bullshit, you can get ahead and live a very happy life. You can be very financially successful. You could provide a great life for your children, and nobody's going to stop you from doing that. But the attitude has to change. I can't work my ass off in my degree area and be concerned with white people holding me down. No, I'm going to be at the best at what I do, and I'm going to go compete with them, and I'm going to get the job. And if I don't get that job, I'm going to go get another job, and it's just going to work that way. I don't have time to think about some mass conspiracy of racists trying to hold me down because I don't believe it. I don't believe anybody can stop me. Nobody stopped Jay-Z from selling crack in Brooklyn to becoming a billionaire.
actually, actually, see, they
So
do
why are they gonna
have,
stop me?
certain white people they do want to succeed, and certain white people that they don't. But if you don't mind, I would like to do call to take calls right now, and hear other people's opinion if you don't mind.
Sure. That's,
And I'll pull up the statistics later. Okay. Omega Corny, write this number down in the chat. The number is 661-505-8577. Again, the number is 661-505-8577. Call in and I'd like to get your opinion on how should we deal with racism, or this conversation in general. But for now, I want to show the article that I pull up. Please forgive me if this is slow because sometimes you know the StreamYard tends to, I don't know, be slow. Okay, Omega, I'm gonna give it to you again. So, let me see. Let me go back. So the number is 661-505-8577. No, Omega Cordy is 661-505-8577. I love it. Okay, let me see. Let me go to. Why is it separated? Oh, did I do something wrong with it? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. I don't know why. What's going on? Um, I'm trying to find the website, but that's amazing. For that, if you have to call in yourself, you may. Dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it, dang it. What did I do? I don't know how I messed up. I'm trying to make the thing bigger. I'm trying to make it bigger, but I guess I lost the site. I don't even know what happened to it. I do it like this. Hi, yeah. What do I do? Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna read it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna read it off. So minority job applications are whitened their resume by deleting references to their race with the hopes of boosting their shots at jobs. And research shows that strategy is paying off. In fact, companies are more than twice as likely to call minority applicants for an interview if they submit whitened resumes than candidates who reveal their race. And this discriminatory practice is just as strong for businesses that claim to value this diversity as those that don't. These research findings should provide a startling wake-up call for those businesses executives. A bias against minorities runs rapid through the resume screening process at companies throughout the USA, says Catherine A.D. Sells. I try to say her name. Excuse me if I butcher it. The James M. Collins Visiting Associate Professor of Business Administration at Howard Business School. Discrimination still exists in the workplace. D. Sells says organizations now have an opportunity to recognize these issues as a pinch point so they can do something about it. DeSales co-authored a September 2016 article about the two-year study in administrative science quarterly called Whitened Resume, Race and Self Presented in the Labor Market with Sonia K. Kong. I think this will make important a second. Hello, Black Princess.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello, you're with Black Princess.
Hi, Black Princess. It is Courtney Omega or Omega Courtney.
Hey, Courtney, how you doing?
Hello, I have really good chat. The live been, very informative. I think that it's imperative for there to be some type of understanding in the reality of systemic racism. I definitely appreciate John, what he is contributing to the conversation with being able to challenge what the construction or what the reality from his perspective is. But again, I think that he must really understand and appreciate that it is his perspective. And to offer up representatives such as, Obama or Jay-Z or even Michael Jordan, LeBron James, these are very limited representatives when you're talking about an entire demographic of people that were hunted. I'm not talking about just discriminatory. I'm not talking about just left out of opportunities, but hunted for centuries. There has never been another demographic in U.S. history whose deaths were celebrated at in any time period. You're talking about lynchings that were promoted, that were encouraged for town and county-wide attendance, picnics. You're talking about pieces of body parts that have become family foods that still exist. And we're talking about 400 years of this. So to think in 2020 that we are just starting off from where we are right now and going to be able to put our foot forward, and we're able to get now access to all of these same attributes, our same opportunities, our same benefits that have eluded for centuries, not for months, not for weeks, but for centuries. I think that we're being a little bit delusional, Josh. I think being a little aggressively presumptive, and I think also you're being incredibly disrespectful to the people of our history, of which you as
disrespectful because I don't agree with the.
Josh, you want to
disrespectful because I don't agree with the narrative. It's not disrespect to disagree with the narrative.
You're being disrespectful because you're not.
Look, I already acknowledged.
You're not respecting the narrative.
I already acknowledged that my father already suffered from Jim Crow, and I'm telling you that I have not suffered as my father has suffered. I have not experienced the atrocity my father's suffered, and it is offensive to what my father goes through to hear people of today declaim that they suffer from Jim Crow or that they suffer like slaves did. It is a disservice to the people who were enslaved, who suffered from Jim Crow, that we are here now squandering our opportunities in America because we want to hold on to something we have not experienced. So you do not have the right to take people's sufferings and make them your own.
Disregarding the fact that there has never been a restorative from the era, from civil rights, from the antebellum. There has never been restorative construction done since then. So
that is up to black people. That's up to black people to do.
Because someone had, excuse me?
No, that is up to black people.
I didn't hear that part.
It's up to black people to do that. We were given the 14th Amendment. You understand? That's all we need. The 14th Amendment. We were given citizenship in the United States of America. It is up to us to take full advantage of the Constitution of the United States in order to get forward. I can't really hear her that well. I can't really hear her that well.
Josh.
What's that?
Josh. Yes, we have the 14th Amendment, but what did that stop? Did that stop the Klan from murdering black people?
Did that
stop the Klan from hanging?
What are you suffering from? You guys are not victims of anything. You're not victims, but you're talking about victimhood. What? You're not victim of Jim Crow. You're not a victim of slavery.
Hold on. Calm down. Josh. The 14th Amendment was installed before the Klan ever existed.
Right.
Did that stop the Klan from hanging us? Did that stop? Did that stop?
We're killing each other now. The Ku Klux Klan is not killing each other. See, this is my problem with this narrative. You don't address the problems of today. Black people are killing black people, and at record numbers. Okay, it's not the Ku Klux Klan. So you're demonizing the Ku Klux Klan, and you need to be demonizing the very people that look like you. And until you can do that, I mean, you're wasting time. It's a fake narrative.
But listen, Josh. Don't go off. Just calm down. Take a breather.
No, I'm passionate.
All I'm saying is the 14th Amendment did not stop the killings of Aubrey Ahmaud.
Aubrey.
Because he got tried.
Jordan Davis,
What about the 60 people killed in Chicago over the weekend? Why are you? What about the black people that kill black people? Why don't you care about that? Because
tell me.
Why are you pointing out races? That number, the murder rate is infinitesimal in comparison to black on black murder rate. So for you to point that out, you are totally deviating away from the real issue here. That we are the biggest threat to ourselves. It is not these scattered white killings in the KKK that is killing us right now.
Racism cannot be listed. It is an entire spectrum, and it's a spectrum that extends throughout various levels of government. And you're talking to someone who is an elected official. You're talking to someone who's the granddaughter of a mayor. You're talking to someone who's the aunt of a police officer, and you're talking to someone who's a mother of children. It is still very much existent. And when you're talking about what have I suffered from it, as an elected official, I am still in a red line district. I am still in a very segregated part of South Florida, where Coconut Grove divides between the black side of the community and the white side. And guess what's pushed into businesses? The white side. The Business Improvement District has never had to expend any of their resources into the black businesses on the West Road side, and that is in 2020. And you're talking to someone that's been in the official for 2 years, the youngest elected official in this community. So let's talk about it, Joshua. Let's talk about redlining. Let's talk about gerrymandering. Let's talk about predatory lending loans. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I still don't see how slavery and the Ku Klux Klan is a threat to what we are experiencing right now in America. You want?
Let's talk about it.
I think you might be a racist. I think you hate white people. The racism that our ancestors suffered from and internalized, you're a racist.
Josh, you misunderstood her. She doesn't hate white.
Hold on. All I've heard in our written conversation are racist remarks. And I'm telling you right now that you're so blinded by racism that you're not even willing to look at your own black community and fix the issue.
You cannot say that, I'm racist because I'm handing out facts. I'm handing out names of black brothers and sisters. I'm handing out the fact that,
you're a racist.
Even with coming from a legacy.
You sound like an angry racist too. You're a racist. You are.
You cannot handle the truth.
I'm proving to you you're a racist. You are angry about white people killing black people, but you're not angry about black people killing black people. You're a racist. You are angry about white people killing black people, but you're not angry about black people killing black people. That means you're a racist.
That the Coconut Grove Business Improvement District, and you can look it up yourself.
The Coconut Grove.
Some numbers, some FBI numbers, and let me brother, my ex-husband was a lawyer who was vetted by the FBI, and he would tell me that those numbers were very concentrated for specific areas. So this is not something grand
I'm more inclined to believe. I'm more inclined to believe official statistics than what your ex-husband told you. I'm telling you right now, if you're more angry about white people killing black people than you are about black people killing black people, you're a racist and you are a part of the problem. You're a part of the problem. It's a racist attitude.
I am upset that the system is denied upon when there is proof of it, and it's still proof of it in 2020, and you want to throw out some examples of a Jay-Z and,
What about Herman Cain?
very specific examples.
What about Alan West?
Less than 1%, less than 1% of black people will ever achieve millionaire status in this country.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Well, that's, first of all, there's only 13% black population because we've been sterilized. So let's get that straight. We're not going to increase our wealth because we're not increasing our population, or have a stagnated population since the 60s. So if we're not increasing our population, we're not increasing our wealth, and we're not increasing the black dollar in the community. So, and until you can address the issues on black crime and stop getting mad at the infinitesimal number of black people that die at white people in comparison to black people, you are a racist. And that's the bottom line. And until you can admit what the real problem is, you are a part of the problem.
That were killed. I talked about redlining, about predatory lending loans. None of these things have you even addressed. Okay?
I understand redlining. I understand redlining.
The murders that have happened.
I understand redlining. I understand redlining.
That's when you out the racist card. When I'm speaking of actual, I'm talking about economically, I'm talking about financially, I'm not just talking about the loss of black lives, okay, with murder. I'm talking about from every sector, systemic racism has reared its head. And for me to point these out specifically, and to point out the pedigree of my family specifically, thank God for the legacy. Okay, I do have a leg to stand on when I'm telling you this. Because I am right now serving in a community that is still very active. It's still as active, and this is, yes, 2020.
Can I say something? Can I say something real quick? If you, Josh, calm down.
No, I'm trying to hear. I can't hear her that well, so I'm trying to listen. That's why I got my ear like this. What do you do?
Okay. But here's the thing, Josh. If you recognize racism, redlining, are you also saying that racism till this day still exists because of redlining?
Here's my thing. This is how I feel about racism. Okay, I already said this before. I do not see it as something that is going to stop me from taking care of my family and providing for my family. I do not wish to carry that burden, not the burden that my father carried, because he did not leave me the same country that was left to him. You understand? A lot of things have changed. And yes, we do need more progress, but it is not an excuse. It is not an excuse to believe a false narrative and to be a part of the problem and not to acknowledge what the real issue is, just because I feel some certain kind of way. Okay? This is about being logical, pragmatic about what the issues are in the black community that are stopping us as a majority at 13% of the population of the United States of America. And I address the biggest effects of that, which is the abortion rate and is the black on black murder rate. That is what I see as an issue. Now, today and age in 2020, if a brother or a sister wants to go out there and get an education, and I'm not talking about a bullshit sociology degree, I'm talking about a real degree, a hard degree, something that can earn you some income, and you want to get ahead, you can get ahead. Nothing's going to hold you back. And if it does, then you just go knocking on another door. But it's not enough for you not to be successful and to create a good life for your family. It's not. And there are a lot of black people successful, especially out here like Ladera Park, Baldwin Hills, black communities who don't even follow this narrative. There are a lot of more black people who are coming to the realization that we are being fed a false narrative. And it's continuously plastered on the news, demonizing black people. Our music exploits us, and our culture is monetized, and we go along with it. But we don't talk about that. All we talk about is the crime. And to the person who called in, I respect what she's saying. She's bringing up some more issues about redlining, etc. But what has been in the mainstream is talking about the violence against black people. So I don't want to get into an argument with her about that, especially with her experience, which I wholeheartedly respect, and I respect her perspective.
But you asked us
But I'm
her
talking about the violence.
experience, Josh. You
What's that?
asked us, but
What?
you asked us her.
Right. And also, Josh, also, and again, I need to thank you because I know you're saying, you know, Josh, my issue with when you called me a racist, and listen, all of the things that you just mentioned, I want. Ask for you. Feel free to follow my channel. I have a channel as well. My name is Omega Courtney. Follow the channel. I talk about the culture being monetized. I talk about us, Black people, not being able to realize and appreciate where we need to be harnessing our power. Okay, I do talk very, very explicitly about these challenges within our community, but that does not take away the truth of the opposition to our community. That's my point. And I absolutely am very offended that you would call me a racist. I stand alongside in my party, in my political party, I stand alongside white. I'm not a political party member of either the Republican or the Democrat.
Are you
so I have a very interesting position, and I represent. Still, I'm an elected official in my community, and it's not a Black community. So I take great offense to that, and I also take great offense to it with considering that I also worship at a predominantly white Southern Baptist church, and I regard these as my brothers and sisters. But that doesn't take away any of the truth in what I'm sharing in systemic racism and how it has affected, how it still affects, and how it will affect the quality of life for African American people.
Exactly.
Let me ask you something, Courtney. If and this is my point about the whole you do. I mean, the logic though. If I apologize for. I thought we were talking about one thing, and you're bringing up other issues. I have a hard time hearing you, but I will go ahead and apologize to you for making that statement. But I still believe that statement, and I do believe that if a group of people or an individual cannot be affected or angered by a person of their race killing somebody within their race, but be upset about another member of a race killing their race, with all due respect and with all logic, that is racism right there. For you to pick and choose who is worthy and who is not worthy of murdering somebody within your race.
All right. Well, hold on. Oh, Courtney and Josh. I just want to answer this. How do you excuse me, my sister just finished talking to me. I'm trying to get my mind together. Where did you think Black crime comes from? Don't you think it's because, it stems from poverty or a certain mindset that Black people have when living in poverty?
What, Black on Black crime?
I think that, you know what?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you.
I think that one thing that we are as appreciative of a system that has been created even before you or I or Josh was born. You're talking about complete plantations that were set up to be fighting rings, and Black slaves were made to fight to their death each other. You're talking about Black men that were told, hey, if you kill so-and-so, I go free. Won't let you go free, but I'll let you. These are documented throughout history. We're talking about the Black Panther Party that was infiltrated, COINTELPRO, that was an aggressive, that was a very effective pro-Black organization that were not harming people, but were very much supporting the Second Amendment to bear arms, okay? And were not harming people, but were infiltrated and were, and still to this day, and I'm You know, you have people that aren't even on there from the but from the Black Panther, listen, you know, Josh, I hear you. And one of my biggest, I like to say, you know, one of the biggest influences on my life has been Malcolm X, and I absolutely, he was killed by black men.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, even if the men were paid by that has never sat well with me, and it will never sit well with me.
And I believe, certain people, I believe certain people in the Black community are agents.
Well, listen, I would like to actually elaborate on that, Rhonda. I just want to go back to Booker T. Washington.
What's going on, Josh?
I would just like to go back to Booker T. Washington. If
Go ahead.
All right. So the Republican Party, of course, as you know, was founded on the anti-slavery movement. And you know, 700,000 lives in the American Civil War were lost. America tried to absolve itself of slavery because, you know, I'm not going to say it was done because the primary reasons was they wanted black people to be free, but because it was detrimental to the American economy, especially when you have free labor and competing workers. But when the slaves were free, and the South was going through Reconstruction, you know, there were a lot of great intellectuals that started coming out of that era. And as you very well know, Booker T. Washington was one of them. And he came up with a plan. He set up business commerce in over 500 communities, and they had a plan to go ahead and train workers, get them skilled, educate them, but to stay within their own community and to circulate the black dollar, which would in turn build wealth. And what happened is that a lot of other black intellectuals that started being educated, like W.E. Du Bois, who went to who's schooled in Germany and at Harvard, started getting these socialist ideas. And communism and socialism started infiltrating the black community through the Harlem Renaissance and through great writers and intellectuals of that time. But what they started doing was attacking people like Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey, who actually had a plan for us. And here we are 100 years later with no progress. And it's because the black community has been divided since the early 1900s, since we actually had black Republican congressmen elected right after the Civil War. The war was started to destroy America. So black people are not only suffering from their own inner community turmoil, but there's also an outside entity that wants to influence American politics. And unfortunately, if you speak of the Black Panthers or agents, the Black Panthers were also heavily communist members. And I'm not justifying what happened to the Black Panthers. I support what they did. And I love the fact that they were bearing arms and protecting their own neighborhoods, and they had lunch programs. But the problem that has been in Black America and what it is now, even with I'm going to say it, the Democratic Party, is that you have these elitists who are pulling the strings on mass scales, affecting the lives of people, everyday people in the Black community. And that is to put the whole issue in a nutshell. That's not to really justify slavery or anything like that. I'm talking about from when Booker T. Washington and his philosophy started being attacked by other leftist, socialist intellectuals of the Black community is when the divide started happening. And then there was the big movement to support Roosevelt with the Great New Deal, which totally started decimating the Black wealth, which happened over a 60-year period. And by the time the 60s came, in which we were still at 24% Black father, at 24% Black father absence, we still had strong families in the 60s. We had strong communities, and we still had the Black dollar. And the reason why we had the Black dollar is because we were not fully integrated. So we were a lot more sufficient. But when Lyndon Johnson came in and he implemented all of these socialist government programs for the Black community, including the welfare system, including the food program, the welfare system promotes Black father absence. A woman cannot have a man or the father living in the household of her or the child, or she will not receive her welfare benefits. This is a federal guideline. These things, these policies set in place has what has broken down the black community and left us in the shambles that we're in now. And for somehow we are all right now today in this political age, we believe that the Democratic Party is the party for black people. And we're talking about the Democratic Party that was the Confederate. We're talking about the Democratic Party that started the Ku Klux Klan. We're talking about the Democratic Party that was against the Civil Rights Movement. And we're talking about the Democratic Party that instituted all these socialist programs in the black community. The Democratic Party that introduced the crime bill for super predators, and all the way up to Obama, who did absolutely nothing for the black community. I mean, he speaks well, he's great, but he solved none of our issues. And today, we're just now dealing with police brutality.
I can agree with that. I do agree with that.
I agree as well.
I
that
agree.
is a little rundown on the history of what has been plaguing us. And I strongly believe that if we would have adhered to our Booker T. Washington and would have been on that trajectory, we would be so much further ahead today. And what we're doing now, we're left disorganized and scrambling around, pointing the finger at an offender. But the problem is the offender keeps on changing their image. And so now we're just generalizing racism and pointing out everybody as being racist and that the whole system is racist, instead of pointing out the bad actors, the actual ones that are doing it. And that is what troubles me, because how in the hell do you fight an enemy that you can't see?
Well, see, but okay, so Josh, that's very important, and I want to thank you for subscribing, by the way. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Your page is very handsome. Your profile is very
handsome. Thank you. Thank you.
He is a handsome guy. He's very handsome.
I'm all in my feet now. Let me get back together.
You're beautiful, Courtney. This is my daughter right here. Come here, baby.
Oh, your daughter. Oh, hey, baby. My niece is asleep, so she can't say hi. Did she finish taking a nap?
Say hi.
Did she finish taking a nap?
Okay, baby, get back. Get back, baby. Yeah, she just woke up.
Oh. Well, if she woke up, my niece will be waking up pretty soon.
Oh, go ahead, Courtney. Go ahead. You were saying something.
Right. You know, it's important that you just said that. How do you fight an enemy that you can't really see? And I think that's a great way to term it, because you know, you were challenging Black Princess earlier on she know if she had actually been affected, and she's like, hey, well, I have applied for certain things, and regardless of the qualities that I had and that I shared, you know, I didn't receive a callback. But Josh, that's one and the same. It is enemy. It's an enemy on the inside and the outside. That now let me again qualify my statement. I have been very blessed with the life that I've had, with the legacy that, you know, my ancestors put before me, with the purpose of my life being me being aware of my purpose very early on in my life. But at the same time, you know, it does create conflict, because sometimes, even with knowing the direction that you're going, that doesn't prevent you from being lost. And you know, we're dealing quintessentially with, you know, that's why what's going on right now is so important and so key, because we are quintessentially dealing with a generation of lost people. And we're dealing with a generation of people that, you know, don't know what this is, that have been heavily influenced by a narrative, whether it has been created for or by them. They're under an extreme, this is the way this generation is being reached right now, and it is unfortunate, but at the same time, it's a task. But at the same time, I think that if we can figure out a way to get the generation to get to you, so that's really what we're looking at here. We're looking at our young adults and our young people. I've worked with young people or youth rather for almost about 18 years. My platform with running was protecting, empowering, and addressing our youth and our families.
I just want to. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Omega Courtney, but
okay.
Those kids that are writing Black Lives Matter on this wall during the protest, there were white kids doing this. These are not black kids. They are white kids doing that, and these black people are filming them, telling them to stop that, because when you put Black Lives Matter, that puts us at risk, because people are going to think that we're doing that. Don't do that. We're not asking you guys to do that. We're not telling you guys to do that. So why are you guys doing that?
It's Antifa.
Well, again, I think that we're dealing with the generation of people that are kind of direction. They want to be involved. They be, as Josh said earlier, we created this culture that is monetized, but the culture is very friendly. It's very cool to know it and to be a part of what Black people are doing and what affects Black people. I was thinking about that incredible speech that John Boyega gave, and I looked out at the majority of the mass of the people that were in that audience. They weren't Black people. So I do think we're in such an incredible time right now where we are having, we're seeing a coming together that honestly I haven't witnessed in my lifetime, and I came through, of course, I was young, but still with the LA riots, after Rodney King, with of course, Trayvon Martin. Though I was living in Atlanta at the time, I wasn't here in Miami, but I had just moved from Miami to Atlanta when it happened, which was really even in that situation. There were youth, because I was the assistant program manager of the Community Cultural Arts Center, and there were youth that were like, well, why was he wearing a hoodie? And I'm like, wow, when these kids were young, and already this idea that he done something wrong by wearing this hoodie before, like, this Courtney, why was he wearing a hoodie? And I had to explain to this group of, yes, it's in Florida, but everybody wears hoodies because it's cold anywhere you walk into. So we're hoodied up all the time. That didn't mean that he was, a dangerous character because he was in that hoodie. So, the loss, but the confusion is not her. The other day, my daughter's 13. She said, well, why didn't George Floyd just break the handcuffs? And I'm like, wow. And this is my daughter. This is my daughter. So we have a generation of youth and young people that are confused, and they're buying the narrative that Black people are superhuman. We're magical. We
had heard that all the time.
Hey, listen,
I hate that when people do that.
I don't like when people strong, woman, because I'm celibate or because I'm virtually. I say, no, I'm just a woman. I'm just a woman.
We can't get pregnant magically either.
Right. Yeah, listen, I want to interject on the people vandalizing and stuff. Like you asked that question about the people spray painting on the wall. I'm telling you right now, when we first started this conversation, that there are two different movements going on right now, and one is infiltrating the other. You have the Black Lives Matter movement that's going on right now that is trying to address this issue. They are marching peacefully, and if you've seen on the videos, they have been confronting these people. But these people who are perpetrating these crimes and writing BLM on the walls and looting are part of Antifa. And this is very important, I think, for you to be aware of, because this is something these socialists, baby, come on. the daddy talk. These socialist extremists have infiltrated black movements for the past 100 years. They did it with W.E. Du Bois. They did it with the Black Panthers, and now they're doing it with the Black Lives Matter movement, which is all funded by George Soros. So, like I said
tell
about
the
the
truth,
enemy,
tell the truth, tell the truth.
about knowing the enemy, we have to know the enemy, and we have to understand what's going on right now. These people all these people of races who are peacefully marching and whatnot are there for a cause, but you see these masked, hooded people committing these crimes. You see pallets of bricks being dropped off in neighborhoods. This is a very orchestrated and controlled attack right now that's going on that you're witnessing on the news, baby. Can daddy? So I just wanted to bring that up to make sure you are aware fully of who are committing these crimes. They started, they agitate, and other people participate.
Oh my gosh, my niece is the same way. She like to put her face in everything. In everything. Hey, cutie. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Oh, you look so cute. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I think about the
Looking
world.
so cute.
I need to think about the world that I'm going to introduce to my daughter. And this is a very crucial moment in a child's life, is how the parent presents the world to the daughter. And whether we realize it or not, the same chains that we might have experienced on life are easily transferable to our children. And I used to, I'm from LA. I grew up in LA. I used to get in a lot of trouble. I've been on the wrong side of the law. I had a really rough childhood. And I've even committed crimes based on the color of people's skin. When I used to run with the wrong crowd, I would beat up white kids. Like, I just hated white people because everybody around me hated white people. I had not even had a particular bad experience with somebody that was white necessarily. It was just because of the influence around me. It was the right thing to do according to my environment. And of course, it was the wrong thing to do and a wrong way of thinking. So I being 42, I've had a lot, baby girl, stop. I've had a lot of time to reflect on why I've made some of the decisions I've made in life. And I had to be honest with myself. That means calling myself out on my own stuff and being perfectly honest. And I was not happy with the truth, and I had to deal with it. And I had to change the way I think. Why do I feel the way I feel? Why have I done what I've done? And it's by no direct experience. I can't claim. My father was traumatized. He was traumatized. He was traumatized. And I've never experienced what he went through to that level. And I can't.
I want you to see my niece. Okay. Hold on. Come on, baby. Say, look in the camera. Look in the camera. Say hi.
Hi.
It's okay. It's nothing to be shy about. Say hi. There's a little girl right there. Okay, she ran off. She off.
Anyway, so I just, that's why I ask you, what's your experience? Because I think the wrong thing to do or ineffective thing to do would be to generalize racism and to just label every person that's a member of the white race as racist and the whole system as being racist. I do agree that there is systemic racism. I do agree that there are races, but the majority of our experiences are not encounters with Ku Klux Klan or with white supremacists. Some of us do experience systemic racism, but most of us overcome it. And I really feel like we need to look inward. To know that God, is to die unto yourself. If you want to know the kingdom of God, you have to look inside. And as a community, I feel that that's the most important thing. And then once we're strong, like Booker T. Washington said, like once we are a strong community within ourselves, then we can affect change. But until then, we're going to be scattered, disorganized, and pretty much used as puppets.
Well, I agree with that. My concern just um, because I have a lot of love for my people. Definitely from that of which I came. I came from two very strong, opinionated, mom and father, and come from a legacy of just scholars, scholars and advocates and activists in my family. So I definitely hear you. And I'm a person that lives a lot of places. So I always I want to say I often have to realize and appreciate that my experience are very different from a typical, 41-year-old Black woman. I have lived in about 10 different states. I was there at 19. I used to always get into arguments with my ex-husband about, I had a coworker when I was in Philadelphia, and I was always kind of very to be kind when I wasn't very understanding on how she, did not have her children's fathers under a better schedule with visiting and picking up their kids. And my cousin always just say, Courtney, single, she's single and trying to live and she's trying to do these other things. Like, you can't be so harsh. And I was the one that would be like, oh, what's he talking about? Was her decision to lay down with these men, I was always talking like that. And now here I am, a single mother of 2 children, and he's a full-time, so sometimes he doesn't, pick up the kids and and who's looking at me but my kids? Like, well, take us to his house, So some of the same questions. And so I think that some of what we're searching for in regards to answers, they may not be with our eyes all the time, they're with our hearts. And, I just remember things was a totally different way in my 20s. I was a married woman in my 20s. And I was, children to my 20s, right? Children have a way of changing your perspective also. Because even though I taught, and even though I, worked in children in youth organizations, I didn't have children of my own. So, and that was one thing that, W.B. Du Bois in Washington consistently butted heads about, that the experiences of one, he couldn't make that be, he couldn't understand what was going on in the inner city, in the inner workings of people's minds, because they had not had these out of area experiences. I work around youth all the time. I work around people all the time. He's 70, 80 years old. Like I said, I'm the youngest elected official in my community. And most of the council members, half of them have never lived anywhere else but Coconut Grove in Florida. And so that's why it doesn't bother them as much that, the systemic racism. They don't even know, I don't want to say they don't know what it is, but they don't know in fact what it is. That business money doesn't come over here, and this limits people even having, having the ambition of having their own brick and mortar restaurant or their brick and mortar business, because they know they're not going to get any money or any support. So these people, 70% of this community are working for millionaires instead of becoming them.
Right.
This is happening all throughout America. Basically, Black people routinely, consistently, and just throughout history, that's what we've been made to do. We've been made to serve and to
right.
I do agree with you, Josh. It's absolutely a time that we do realize that yes, we can build our own, but there are some things that are going to be imperative and necessary to happen within the community of which we live, of which we want to live, as well as outside of. And one of those things, as I'm often telling people, you cannot be too afraid to change your direction or where your current standing is. If that does mean up and moving to another area, it means. But sometimes, easier said than done. That's hard for some people to have to let go of the one place that they have known for familiarity or consistency. But I do think as we move forward, as our communities grow, and in the directions that our communities are going in, we are going to have to become a whole lot more comfortable with being inconvenienced in order to see a greater life for our children, because that's really what it comes down to. Generational wealth, it doesn't exist if you don't have a generation to leave it to. And what you have been saying all night, Josh, is very true. We do have to, we've got to stop having the abortions. We've got to stop killing our own, because that also, like I said, generational wealth means nothing if you don't have a generation, don't have the next step.
Right.
We do have to, if we wholeheartedly want to regrow and to replenish our community, we have got to make, loving, lasting relationships and build functional as well as affluent influence within that community. So it's something that our children and our children's children want to return back to. So, I know the work is ahead. I know that there's a lot of work to do. Many are called, but few will go. I at my age, I'm just picking my battles, so to speak. I've had to step away from a lot of things that, I would have been, without children, probably I would have been one of those people out there protesting. But, I have, I'm planting seeds and trying to do other things so that I can create a life, for my kids coming forward, as opposed to wanting to see some immediate gratification of just, the outward cry of my passion and my anger right now. And I think that's unfortunately what's happening with a lot of these protesters.
Well, I think it's
okay, everybody. Josh, before you say anything, I'm gonna end the live stream.
Okay.
Because I'm getting over my limit. But Mega Courtney, is there any last words you want to say?
Well, I think I said my piece. I think Josh has the floor, and Josh, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Please make sure. Let's definitely stay connected. I really appreciated the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I want to thank you too. First of all, and I think it's great that you're in public office, and I think that you're going to be a great influence for your children, and that's going to build your legacy right there. But it starts, with what you're doing, and it sounds like you come from a really good family and everything. At the end of the day, it's we got to get back to the family and have a strong family in order to have a strong community. And it looks like you're a very big part of that. So my hat's off to you, and thank you for the dialogue too. I really appreciate it. It was nice talking to you. I got your email.
Okay.
Thank you, Princess. Thank you. I put my email up there, guys. And thank you, Princess, so much. I'm sorry that I talked so much. We went a little over.
No, it's okay.
You are awesome. Thank you so much for presenting the opportunity. I really needed this more than I thought I did. I really did. I promise you, I really thought I was just going to be sitting back and listening and enjoying, just a guest. But having the opportunity to dialogue with everybody, and I thank you for having that information ready to go in regards to how many how many of our sisters and brothers are having to resort to making fake professional profiles to actually even getting a hit that. And I didn't go into that, but 2 years ago I was operations manager for a company, and and I didn't realize that was going on until I started to call people, and they were like, "What? Who did what?" So I was the security guard for where? No, they literally are just to get the calls, and it's unfortunate, but it also it reminded me.
I'm sorry, the helicopters are running around my city, so I'm gonna have to let you go.
All right, thanks, Wanda. Thanks, for this. All right, Courtney, have a good one. Stay safe.
Hold on, Josh.
Okay.
Hold on, Josh. Is there any last words you want to say to our audience before you go?
No. Stay safe and be reasonable.
All right, Josh. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming up on my live stream. I really appreciate hearing your opinion. We all have different opinions, and that's okay. I just want people, to stay home, stay safe, follow the curfew, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Bye.
Sounds good.
Bye.